Good morning and welcome once again to StudentSOS, or if you're new here, good morning and welcome to you. Thank you for finding us. I hope you find our content useful. If you do, then please hit the like button on this video down below and click subscribe to be notified of any new material that we publish. We are working currently on AS level material, that's year 12. By all means, year 11, you should jump on board and start taking a look at this material. This is all that has been posted so far, the beginning of the course. So we'll cover material you are likely to learn between September and Christmas. So please get ahead of the game, jump on board and leave any comments below of any further information that you would like on any of the topics that we're posting on at the moment. We also produce work for 11 plus candidates, which we will be doing over the summer. And UCAT and BMAT students equally being done over the summer. Hopefully you have booked your place now. If you are a UCAT or BMAT student, then I hope you've booked that place. We also do work at GCSE and Key Stage 3 in science, and specifically biology at A-level or human biology for the time being. So today, if you'd like to join us, we're going to carry on our trip through biological molecules, and we're going to take a little look at lipids, otherwise known as fats. So if you're a year 12, ending year 12 now, you'll know some of this, I hope. If you are a year 11, I hope you'll have heard of lipids. Lipids are another name for fats, and the basic structure of a lipid is a triglyceride. Here it is. Has a glycerol, which is the blue rectangle, and it has 3 fatty acid tails. And indeed, each of the tails is attached to the glycerol molecule using an ester bond. What can we use these for? Well, people, of course, because of society's attitude towards fats in the West, consider fats to be bad. But actually, we do need some. We just eat far too many of them. So their uses are an energy store or an energy source. Fat has about twice as much energy stored in it per gram as carbohydrate. The only reason we don't use that as our main energy source is because it's harder to release. Glucose is much easier to use in respiration within cells, and fats require further work before we use them. Consequently, I'm afraid what you do is burn fats after you've already burnt up your carbohydrate. This is why we need to exercise for 20 to 30 minutes before we get into fat burning usually. Animals use it for insulation. Now, depending on where you live, this is more or less useful, but animals use it for insulation. For example, if they're going to hibernate for the winter, they eat lots of food, that keeps them warm while they sleep, and they use up that energy during the winter so that they can feed again when there is food in the spring. You can also use it for buoyancy, less useful in humans, much more useful for mammals that live in water. So buoyancy allows you to float. So if you have a decent amount of lipid, you'll always float. And finally, protection. Protection is important, and in humans, one of the best examples of this is protection of organs like the kidney. Most of your internal organs are well protected by the rib cage, for example, the heart and the lungs, and by muscles, but the kidneys are very, very exposed at the lower back, either side of the spinal cord and the lower back. But there's a layer of fat over these that protects them from any damage, and so they can be used for protection in other places for other organisms as well. The other type of fat you need to know about is a phospholipid. So if you have been studying the AS course, you will know what a phospholipid is. They are the main component of the cell surface membrane, or the plasma membrane. Please do not call it a cell membrane. You will not get exam marks at A-level calling it a cell membrane. It is a cell surface membrane or a plasma membrane. Either is fine on mark schemes across exam boards. This is varied compared to the triglyceride because it has a pink phosphate group at the top. It's still attached to a glycerol molecule, which is our blue rectangle, and this time we have 2 fatty acid tails, again attached by ester bonds. So it's used in all membranes. Pretty much any membrane is made up in much the same way. You study the phospholipid bilayer and the fluid mosaic model, we'll look at that later. But you study these as part of the plasma membrane or the cell surface membrane, but mitochondrial membranes, chloroplast membranes, the other membranes of organelles generally are made up in a very similar way. They will have different proteins because, of course, they'll allow different ions and different molecules to travel through the membrane, but they will be made predominantly of the same basic material. So then we move on to cholesterol, the final group of fats that you need to know something about here. So they're needed for membrane stability. They basically sit, they are small and hydrophobic, and they sit where the fatty acid tails are in the membrane. They are mainly made in the liver of mammals. And again, cholesterol is considered to be a dirty word in the Western world, but that's only because we eat far too much of it. And we definitely eat far too much of the bad type, the LDL cholesterol. But there's a different type, HDL cholesterol, and this is good fats. And more about where we can find those in a later video. So we do need some cholesterol, but we can produce most of the cholesterol we need, and it is our dietary cholesterol and the excess of it that causes problems such as atherosclerosis. More on that as we get into the circulatory system. But it's needed for making vitamin D, and it's used for steroid hormone formation like estrogen and testosterone. So cholesterol actually is extremely important in reasonable doses. So what you need to know about lipids then are the 3 different types. One question I would ask you that I'm going to ask you to comment on at the bottom is a triglyceride a monomer? I'd like you to comment on this underneath. Is a triglyceride a monomer? Please don't just write yes or no. I'd like to know why you think it is or why you think it isn't. This is quite a common exam question. Is a triglyceride, so monomers we've already looked at in the carbohydrate video. So if you haven't watched that yet, please go back and you'll find out exactly what I mean by a monomer. But I want to know whether a triglyceride is considered to be a monomer. Thank you very much. The next video we're going to look at will be on biological molecules, moving on finally to proteins. And we'll do one big video on structure of proteins and also on the basic structures of amino acids. So I hope you found this video useful this morning. I'd like to thank you for joining me this morning on this, and this is StudentSOS. Please click the like button if you've enjoyed the content here today. Leave a comment underneath, whether it's answering about triglycerides being monomers or a question that you have on lipids generally. Hit that subscribe button to be notified of the new videos as they arrive. We are uploading a couple of videos a week at the moment, and they will be on a variety of topics. Thank you very much indeed. Have a great day.